Very good, Dr. Abati. Just let's move away from issues of infrastructure and transportation. Let's go into the issue of education and some other issue that relates to labor. Last year, we saw lots of strike action, threats for strike and all of that. In fact, the latter part of last year, we saw students from across the university, across the nation, were at home idle. And in fact, the Medical Association too, we saw them go on strike. Name it, so many labor strikes last year. And it makes the President Jonathan administration look like an administration that is not tolerant to labor organization. We are looking at 2014 now. At the end of the day, it seems that the administration eventually yielded to, after much talk, yielded to the teachers' needs and their yearnings. What do you want to say about this?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to note that, industrial actions would always come now and then, and the responsibility of government is to resolve those issues. And we should also note also that sometimes some of these industrial actions may even have political undertones. But I think that the administration did very well in 2013 in resolving the issues that came up. If you look at NMA, NMA has been meeting with the government, and many of the issues that NMA brought up, including core duty allowance and representation in NIPS, appointment of Surgeon General of the Federation, which they proposed, all of that has been addressed. And I don't really think that there is any serious issue with regard to the relationship between government and NMA. Now, with regard to ASU, it's important to note that the agreement that ASU is talking about, there are about 10 or 12 or 11 issues involved. And many of those issues had already been settled and addressed by government to the satisfaction of all the stakeholders involved. The only contentious issues were just the issue of figure, amount. But all of that also, has been resolved because government is committed to the strengthening of the education sector as much as ASU is committed to it. And ASU, I think I was reading the president of ASU in one of the papers either yesterday or today, and he was saying that the issues have been resolved. And he also said he doesn't expect that there will be any dispute again, in the course of the new year. And ASU itself has also commended the federal government for the mature manner in which it has handled the matter. So I really do not see any problem in this regard. But of course, our appeal, to labor groups is that at all times they should show understanding, because at the end of the day, this is about Nigeria. This is about, the future of our country. And people should refrain, from politicizing issues that can be easily resolved.
All right, Dr. Abati, let me quickly show you one of a portion of President Jonathan's speech, or message on the New Year Day in 2013. He's talking about distractions. He says, I also want to assure Nigerians that we will refuse to be discouraged by those who have taken it upon themselves to pick on every initiative and effort of this administration. We will remain resolutely committed to the rule of law, due process, and fair play in all circumstances. My question now, because that particular portion is talking about those who pick into the administration's performance and all of that. Looking at the state of the nation, we saw former President Olusegun Obasanjo pay President Jonathan visit almost every month. Did the letter that he wrote to President last year come to him as a surprise?
Sorry, I missed that.
All right, because the portion that I read out of the president's speech on the New Year's Day in 2013 talked about distraction and those who peak in the Jonathan's administration's performance. I'd like to ask you, if you look at the state of the nation now and those who oppose President Jonathan's style of administration. We saw former President Olusegun Obasanjo pay President Jonathan visit almost every month in 2013. Did the letter, open letter, former President Olusegun Obasanjo wrote to President Jonathan come to the presidency as a surprise?
Okay, I got your point now. I think that the president himself already addressed this issue with regard to former President Obasanjo's letter in the opening paragraphs of his response. President Jonathan's, doors are always open to people who want to offer advice, people who want to share ideas with him. And he and, former President Obasanjo, they relate on a regular basis. Former President Obasanjo is a regular visitor to President Jonathan. And that's why the president said many of the issues raised in former President Obasanjo's letter, both of them had already discussed those issues. And that was why he didn't think that maybe a formal response was necessary. But since the former president now asked for a formal response, he then went ahead and responded. But what I can assure you is that President Jonathan's statement that he will refuse to be distracted and that he will remain committed to the rule of law, that is precisely what he has done and what he is doing. No amount of provocation, either from the opposition or any quarter, will distract the administration. And that is why we are able to sit down here today to talk about achievements in 2013 and all the things that this administration has been able to put in place. In the year 2013, I mean, the IMF pointed out that the Nigerian economy was growing at close to 7%, and it has the potential to even grow more. The stock market, which had practically collapsed as at the time President Jonathan assumed office, has grown, has become robust again. In 2013 alone, we recorded over 66% growth in the stock market. Okay, all of that would not have been possible if the administration is not focused. So President Jonathan remains focused. He will continue to build on the successes recorded in 2013, in 2014. And if you even look back at 2013, it was a lucky year for Nigeria, even in sports. We won the Mandela Cup, we won the Catalonia Cup, we won the African Nations Cup, we qualified for the World Cup 2014 in Brazil. We even got elected to the Security Council of the United Nations, and that will be the second time that will happen under this president, which is to show you that the international community has very high regard for Nigeria.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Abati. Just before we go on this break, let me take you up on the fact that the president said in 2013 that his administration is focused, and will not be distracted. But we saw a lot of distraction, isn't it, coming from his own party and even from the opposition and the way things were being handled. Do you think that President Jonathan's administration was actually distracted last year?
Well, I mean, I had already made this point that, in spite of all of those things you had listed, that did not stop the business of governance. Government remained focused. And, and that's why, we have all these achievements that we're talking about. If government had been distracted at the federal level, then perhaps, we will not be having this discussion talking about the many achievements of this administration in the year just ended.
All right, thank you, Dr. Abati. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, it's going to be some other ways and some other faces that we'll be talking about President Jonathan's performance. And also, if you remember what President Jonathan said about his plans for 2014 on the first day of this year. Well, the year is still very young. We still have Dr. Abati, who has opened the doors of the presidency to us, and tonight we shall be hearing from him on the plans for 2014. Join us again.